Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Bucs fans were there too. The Bucs.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by Lead Goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little clear. But we're joined by Pat Donovan.
It looks like Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like we got a little.
No, my camera's broke.
Howdy ho, howdy hey, how the hell is everybody? Tampa Tones here on a Buccateers podcast, and we're soon to be joined by Sports Illustrated's own JC Allen to get some chatter going on Bucs training camp. What the hell's going on? I think J-Lo should be here somewhere too. I think he's playing whack-a-mole or something, but we'll see if we could get the great J-Lo. Nonetheless, happy Taco Tuesday, and we do have JC Allen coming our way shortly to sit alongside me here until about 6:10 Eastern or so, because as many as you know, we have Bucs practice tonight. Yes, we do have night practice, the first installment of that of the 2024 season. J-Lo, how the hell you doing? Training camp in full swings, you hanging in there?
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir, man. Pad day yesterday. That was awesome, man. Like I said,
yeah, pad day yesterday, and now night practice tonight. We're getting some good ones here early.
Absolutely, man. And all the hype I'm hearing, and all these training camp battles. Can't wait to talk football with you, brother.
Yeah, you as well. And we should be joined by JC Allen here shortly, as well as our great friend Bud Cannibalist, friend of the program, says, I really hope Tristan's deal is done by the weekend. It's such a key part to the team. Howdy, howdy. J-Lo, I think it's a matter of when, not if. I think it's much like all the other dudes the Bucs have taken care of in the past, including a Mike Evans, but I don't think we let it get to Mike Evans' level of the offseason next year. I think we get to it coming up. I would say it's imminent. I would say by Friday we hear a deal. I just think it's verbiage being worked on at this point. He will be the highest paid player in Buccaneers history. I think they want to make sure that their T's are crossed and their I's are dotted on their biggest investment in franchise history. J-Lo, what say you? I think this gets done by Friday, and I think it breaks every record in Bucs history money-wise.
I agree. I think by Friday of the weekend for sure. I mean, that's what Rich Stroud reported, I believe, yesterday or the day before. He expects this deal to be done very soon. So, and usually he's pretty on point. So, yeah, I'm excited. Tristan Wirfs, he deserves every bit, whatever money he gets. And can't wait to have him protect Baker, man. He's going to be – I think this will be an all-pro year for him.
Yeah, and real quick, J-Lo, I know it's a football show, but obviously baseball. Rays are making a lot of moves, clearing house. They just traded another relief pitcher to the Mets, it looks like, not too long ago, a couple minutes ago. So what are your take on the Rays cleaning house? Are you all for that before we get to more football talk?
It was time. It was a long time coming. Right now, the Rays are an average team at best. I'm surprised that they're over 500 just because they're banged up in the pitching rotation. But I think next year they'll be much better in the pitching rotation. You got to get some of these young kids up here and get them batting. That way we can be prepared for next year. It's just the culture. The culture, I think, was just falling apart. And you got to feel for Kevin Cash, man, because he's working with the best he can get. Because unfortunately,
I still think he's the best manager in baseball.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that he's not good. I just feel bad because he just can't get some of these big time hitters because the owner just won't spend any money. Stu Sturber, to me, I hope he sells the team in the future because he's just one that's going to keep getting rid of talent and bringing these young prospects and build them up, and then he'll trade them then. That's what the Rays are best known for. But, we'll wait and see. Right now, I'm just ready for football. Baseball is just done for me.
And it seems like it's done for the Rays. And speaking of welcoming into SummerSlam, hot off the press, we had to negotiate with the Wyatt Six to get him on the show, so that was some tough sledding there. But the great JCL, and JC, how the hell you doing, brother? Long time no talk.
Yeah, I'm doing great, guys. Happy to pop on here whenever I can. Yeah, SummerSlam fast approaching. Looks like even the Monday after SummerSlam is going to be a really good show too, with some of the matches they're lining up. And obviously, Bucs are in full swing. Rays are tanking. Red Sox are thriving. Let's go.
That's good news for Mr. JCL. And JC, before we get going here, quick kind of plug yourself. I know you got a great show coming tomorrow on Pirate Parlay. You had a couple of great guests of late, including a certain head coach of the Bucs. Kind of just tell the people what you've been up to this offseason and what's coming soon.
Yeah, follow me as always, JCL and NFL. Your one-stop shop for all things Bucs, whether it's news that we're putting out, podcasts, interviews. I get some clips up there. I'll put some more clips up there later, just kind of letting them ruminate a little bit. And then obviously all of our great content over at Bucs Game Day. Amazing stuff over there. My own podcast, Pirate Parlay, which you alluded to, had Coach Todd Bowles on, had offensive coordinator Liam Cohen on. Tomorrow, live at 7 p.m., we'll have Jalen McMillan on, rookie wide receiver, rookie standout. So excited for that one. And the guests will keep coming as we proceed through training camp and then right on into the regular season. And then Hear the Cannons as well is our podcast with Bucs Game Day over at Sports Illustrated. Check that one out. We got Cody Malcolm tonight, so tomorrow night, so at 8:00. So I'm jumping from 7 to 8 to 8 to 9 with some great Bucs guests and some great co-hosts. So excited about all that stuff going on and excited to be here to talk to y'all.
Yeah, that should be really incredible, JC. Cody Mock, McMillan, you just had Cohen and Bowles. You continue to kill it as always. Speaking of killing it as always, Jason Light and company sure does. And I think the time is near for Tristan Wirfs. What's your latest and greatest on the big man? And I think people are assured he will be a Buck. I think it's just a matter of when and how much.
Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time here now. They're getting closer on the details, and those little details, as Tristan mentioned and Bowles mentioned, are basically length, guaranteed money, and such. Those type of things are what they're negotiating over. I'm sure Tristan, with like a 4-year deal, hit the market at 29, where he's still under the age of 30, able to cash in on another big second contract. I think I don't think annual average is what they're talking about right now. I think it's kind of well known. Hey, we're going to be the highest paid offensive tackle in the league and reset the market. And that's probably puts him at like $29, $30 million. I think closer to 29 probably gets it done for him. It's more how much is guaranteed, how many years, what's up front. Those minor details are kind of what's being worked out. And I don't foresee that lasting much longer into next week. I think by the end of this weekend, they'll get something done. They're off tomorrow. They have 3 days on, so they'll be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, off on Sunday. By the time Pats come on Monday, heading into Cincy week, I think we'll have some sort of semblance of, news potentially that this is going to be taken care of. Gives them kind of 2 off days to worry about it. And again, you want him out there. But Tristan, as he mentioned too, he was out there on the field when Jensen went down. Can't risk it. Not when it's life-changing money, generational money, and he's got a newborn at home. So,
and you could tell he really wants to be out there just by the way he's talking. He's like tiptoeing around him, not fully participating, but I don't blame him at all. We saw what happened to Jensen, as you just alluded to, and several others have as well. And as we get Gene on here, Gene, if you are with us, how the hell are you, brother? And thoughts on the Bucs training camp to this point and things you may have heard or seen.
Man, I tell you, it's must-see TV when Joshua Cole Allen is on, and all I can say is thank you for providing all this information for us. Again, as I've always mentioned, and I'm not sucking up to you because I really don't like you, but I really like what you're doing. I like the product you're putting out. You're fan-friendly, something that a lot of, and I'll just go and say it, there are a lot of people out there that aren't fan-friendly like yourself, and I appreciate how you're producing all this and getting us the information we need, and it's unbiased. And these are questions that fans are really asking. And I want to say hi to everybody else too. But Joshua Cole, I appreciate you, and I do make sure I retweet a lot of your stuff.
I appreciate you. I appreciate all you guys. All three of you are fam to me, so
Yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah.
it. I appreciate
All right.
being welcomed in to Bucs community. I'm an outsider. Worst of all, I'm a New Englander.
You're a
I'm
jerk.
a damn Yankee, you know.
You're a jerk too, but
So I'm a
that's
jerk
neither
too,
here
you
nor
know. So
there.
I appreciate all of Bucs Nation. It's been nothing but a
Yeah,
warm
same.
welcome, and
Hey,
just trying to give you guys the best I can.
speaking of jerks, not a jerk thing. No, no, I'm kidding. But JC, I do want to ask you, Bucks night practice tonight. It's their first of this year, I believe. Kind of give us a vibe around that. I know it's indoors, I believe, tonight, so
Correct.
probably nothing too exciting or whatnot. But thoughts on them practicing tonight? Is there any reasoning behind that, or is it just to give the guys off from a heat?
It's hot, man. It's hot. They have tomorrow off too, so you give them first day of pads. You give them a little extra time to kind of recover. Kind of Bulls mentioned that yesterday as well, but they generally have 1 or 2 night practices during during training camp. Last year, there was a little bit of a scrimmage going on. We'll see if that's in the works for tonight, which always makes for good fun. There was some good plays last year. Not Trey Palmer, Devontae Tompkins. No, what the heck is his name?
Devin Tompkins.
Devin Tompkins, Devontae Tompkins. Yeah. Devin Tompkins jumping out of the gym. That highlight came out of there last year in triple coverage. There was a little skirmish between Rashad White and one of the undrafted linebackers. That kind of came out last year. So there's always some good stuff that you come in there. It's climate controlled. As media, it sucks a little bit because we're stationed like right at the 50-yard line. We can't walk around and like get different vantage points because during regular training camp, we can be at the top of the field, we can be at the side of the field, and we can be at the bottom of the field. So we have 3 different sidelines we can kind of be on for vantage points. So it kind of sucks in that message, especially when they're doing like indie drills. It's hard to see. You're kind of zooming in, stretching the limits of your phone. But it's great for the fans. It's great for the guys to get them out there, and then obviously, especially when they have the next day off too. So.
Yeah, that'll be really fun. And JC, we'll get your opinion first. Then we'll ask the other guys' thoughts on Jordan Love's contract. Olivia asked that. And as it relates to Baker Mayfield, it seems like a lot, but then you look around the league, and that's kind of the norm, right? One younger quarterback outdoing the next in terms of contract and average per year. And that seems to be the case here with Jordan Love.
Yeah, Baker's deal looks like a steal even more. I mean, because like if you look at it, you can get out of that deal. That thing at like $45-50 million hitting the cap as dead cap hit. And I mean, that's less than what Love is making year one. I mean, he's getting $55 million per year. So you can get out of Baker's deal for less than what it's going to cost for one of these guys for 1 year. So it's a good value for the Bucs. It continues to show. With Jordan Love, I think it's one of these situations where they've had him in the building for 4 years already. So they know the kind of person, they know his makeup. He only started 1 year, obviously, last year, but did some really special things with not a lot of talent around him. You got to remember, those wide receivers are young kids. Tight ends are young kids. Running back, Aaron Jones was out for a lot of the year last year. So, they were missing him a bit too. So,
and now they get Josh Jacobs.
Now they got Josh Jacobs. So, they put a good running back with a young quarterback with some young weapons. I think it's going to age fine as the salary cap continues to go up. It's a risk. It's a gamble, but it's one that I would be willing to pay based off what I saw last year. And again, if you're not, now you're all, it's difficult. That QB market is so hard to find one. And if you feel like you found one, you pay him. And if you look at what the Packers done is Favre, Rodgers, Love. They just kind of boom, boom, boom.
It's like the Steelers head coaches, right? They
right,
went
yeah.
from, one to the next to the next. Gene, we'll ask you double edge question here. Thoughts on Buccaneers night practice as that is looming tonight, and also thoughts on the Jordan Love contract.
I think JCA hit it best, man, because that's kind of how I look at it. If you got your guy, this is your guy, and you're building your franchise around him, and you gotta roll with that. You want to keep him there for a long time. You need that continuity. If he's their guy, and they believe this is the one, then that's kind of what you have to go with. As far as night practice, I love night practice. It's always been fun for me. Hottest balls out there, but at the same time, you don't have the sun beating down on you, so it's not. I mean, it's still bad, but it's not as bad as it could be. So I've always had good memories there. I remember Pepin Root Stadium, going there for night practices, and one time I did go to Orlando for a night practice. So I've gotten to see a lot of different ones, but always good memories when I've gone.
Yeah, I think I ditto that. And, you could have visited Mickey Mouse and the Buccaneers back in the day when they had their training camp in Orlando. It was right at Disney's ESPN Wide World of Sports. J-Lo, thoughts quickly on night practice for the Bucs? I think we're all in agreement on the Love contract.
Yeah, as far as the Love contract goes, I mean, might as well just pay him now and get it over with, and now you have your franchise quarterback. As far as night practice, I just wish they did it at the stadium more for the fans back in the day. 'Cause I remember they used to do that, invite the fans to Raymond James Stadium, hype them up, and stuff. I wish they would do that, but I understand changes have happened over the years. But I'm always all for night practice to help get the players, change environment, because they're going to have, I think, 3 or 4 night games coming up this football season. So, and plus, give them a break from, the hot heat, because it's never easy practicing in the heat. Believe me, JC probably had a good time hanging out in the hot sun.
Oh my God, yesterday was awful. It was so hot.
But
that's.
No, my bad, JC. I was saying that you were crushing it, man. You're killing it out there. With those interviews, man. Good for you, brother. You deserve 1,000 bottles of Gatorade, man.
I can Gatorade, hopefully. We don't get those. They don't share those with us. I wish. I try to look them up. It's like $28 for like a 4-pack. I'm like $40 for a 20-pack. I'm like, man, I want to splurge, but I'm not splurging that much. But
is it not a tax write-off?
No, I wish. Maybe it could be. I do work for myself. Technically, I'm 1099, so I could write it off. But Jeremy, to kind of your point, when you wish the Bucs would thank Tom Brady for that. Super Bowl. You get a Super Bowl, COVID a little bit, but I think more Tom Brady. You look at a situation look at the Raiders, what their fans got, right, with the season tickets and everything like that. They got the treasure box and stuff, and even last year they got something cool. It's like you got to you give and take, because if your team sucks, then you get all this swag and you get all this, you get these stadium tours and sideline passes and all these cool different things. But if your team's good, they stop doing all that stuff. As soon as Brady and the Patriots started winning Super Bowls, training camp got stricter, rules got tighter, and they just sucked for a couple of years, and now they've got all the alums coming back to sign autographs and stuff like that. So as soon as you start to dip down in performance, that's when they try to pull you back in with all the swag and stuff like that. So be thankful you're not getting all that swag right now, because history tells us anything, it will come back for the Bucs.
By all means.
I remember back in the day when me and Pops would go to Tampa, we would go to a whole week of training camp for free. And, all the fans were there, and you would kind of just get let in, and they would have former Buccaneers there. Specifically, I remember meeting Aaron Brown there, the original 55 linebacker for the Bucs. And then you meet the cheerleaders, and I got let on the field by Anthony Gator. That was pretty damn cool. And things were just easier. Now, to JC's point, Tom Brady comes, and you got to battle all these people for, tickets to specific camps, or, even the season ticket. I remember a couple of years ago, just the first year of Brady, or right before that, the Bucs would get a We Are Crew box, and you get a bunch of things as a season ticket member, because their own Stunna used to get those all the time since he's a season ticket member. Now those don't come anymore. But speaking of battles, JC, Bucs have a couple camp battles heating up. If I'm missing one, feel free to add it in, but between the left guard battle, you got, Upetta, Bredesen, Klein, the rookie. I think they're kind of shielding Hainsey for backup center role, given the Bucs' history with Johnson and injuries at center. I think they want somebody ready to fill in right away. They kind of did the same with Leverett a couple of years ago. But JC, between the left guard battle, or now suddenly the backup quarterback battle, are there any other battles that intrigues you, or is it just those two? And kind of give us an update on what's going on there.
Yeah, so I think there's a bunch of them that kind of intrigue. I think left guard, as you mentioned, Hainsey's kind of out of it. He's either winning the starting job, which is unlikely, or he's the backup, keep him safe there. But I think left guard is one we started to see a little bit yesterday when the pads came on. We'll see a little bit more. I intend them to probably be in shells tonight. They might be in full pads, but I'd be surprised. Usually when they go inside, they're in shells. But we'll see. They could be in full pads tonight. But I expect it to be a really hard fought battle for this next week. I think when I had Liam on, he mentioned that they wanted to know what their 5 was going to be heading into Cincy week, at least, or at least have an idea of it. So Bredesen got some first snaps, first team snaps. Opetta's getting some first team snaps. They'll do 2 11 on 11 periods, and we'll see that first 11 on 11 period. It was Hainsey and Opetta. Second, it was Graham and Bredesen with Baker and company. It didn't really kind of matter who went first, who went second. They're both splitting those reps and those snaps there. I think it is telling, though, when they go into the hurry up and the 2-minute drill and stuff like that, red zone, it is Bredesen and it is Graham Barton out there first, getting those first snaps and attempts. So I think those are probably your likely winners there. I think another competition is Nickelback is going to be a lot of fun. Tyke's been taking a lot of the first team reps, and you talk to any of these guys, coaches, you talk to players. I mean, I talked to Tavier Thomas, put up an interview in an article. He's talking about how Tavier is almost like a veteran already. He just knows the playbook, knows where to be, knows what to do. Very instinctual, very communicative. So all that's a fun one to watch. Wide receiver 3, again, Liam kind of, as much as I've diagnosed too, it's going to be a split share there based on certain alignments and certain defenses they go against. You play man coverage. You need Trey Palmer's more of a man beater there with his speed, while McMillan can kind of find that zone spot. And then there's like backup battles that are really fun to watch too, right? Like who's going to win that 5th, 6th edge rusher? Who's going to win that 5th, 6th, that 4th, 5th linebacker spot? We know Britt, Servase, and Levante are locked in, but are they going to keep 5? Is it JJ? Is it Deloach? They keep both, watching training camp, and they just started doing some of the kickoff stuff. You can see that those body types are the body types they're using there. They're using linebackers. They're using tight ends. They're using outside linebackers and stuff. So that's fun. I think JTS is probably your starter, but we'll get a heavy dose of Chris Braswell rolled in there. Backup cornerback, Tyreek Funderburk versus Josh Hayes versus maybe a guy like Chris McDonald. I mean, those are good ones too. Yeah, Tyreek Funderburk, friend of the show. So those are good ones. That 5th or that 6th defensive lineman, if they keep that, you're talking about guys like Mike Green, CJ Brewer, another friend of the show. Judge Culpepper, legacy guy. Brennan Walton, I think he should be safe as his availability to play tackle and guard. He's been playing 2nd string left tackle or 2nd string left guard, right tackle, but can play guard and center as well. So the tight end room, back of the roster tight end. Do they keep Keith with less 2 wide receiver sets? Do they want a guy like Devin Culp, who showed off his speed with a amazing release at practice yesterday, just beat him down the seam, went for a touchdown? Do they want that move tight end, or do they want a guy who's more of a blocking specialist like O'Keefe? So, 5th, 6th wide receiver, Bud Cannabis is saying, So, like, is it Raheem Jarrett? Is Sterling Shepard's looked really good, but do you want to keep Sterling Shepard? Is he going to play teams? If not, Cameron Johnson's really impressed. Ryan Miller has looked really well as making that transition from tight end to wide receiver last year. It really feels comfortable this year. So there's a lot of good battles going on. Some of them are more high profile than others, of course. There's a lot of good stuff going behind the scenes. I think Trask is number 2 quarterback.
I think so, and I was going to ask you. So you think so? I think Trask is that. I think the QB battle's a little overinflated.
Yeah,
personally,
everyone's competing, but there's no battle there, in my opinion.
It was kind of like Baker and Trask last year. I mean, there might have been a battle maybe at the very beginning, but it was kind of evident Baker was out competing Trask last year early on. Speaking of that. Gene, any battles catch your eye that JC pretty much just battled us down right there in a good way?
Yeah, he summed it. He summed it up.
Boots on the ground,
He's right there. He sees it all. JC, I did want to ask you, how are the players adjusting to Cohen's offensive scheme as opposed? Has it been a smooth transition from last year to this year? Have you seen everybody kind of buying in and everybody's getting comfortable with it? It's pretty, and it's pretty player friendly.
Oh yeah, guys are excited. I think guys are more excited about this scheme than they were about last year's scheme, and that's not a knock on Dave. Dave, brings out the positivity and the energy, but I think this year they have a little more. They have a little more trust, knowing that Cohen's has done it before. It's not his first rodeo. Knowing obviously where he comes from, he's a direct root of that tree, not a rooted, a sprout off a root like Canales was with Waldron.
Right.
And just showing the guys tape, right? Showing them, okay, this is what we can do to put you in motion, and expect Chris Godwin to run around a lot, but how we can utilize you like Cooper Kupp, Rashad White. This is how we use Todd Gurley. We can use you kind of similar. All right, this is how they used Kyron Williams last year, Bucky. We can use you in this role. Jalen McMillan, Trey Palmer. You see what Puka did last year? All right, this is kind of what we can do with you. Robert Woods was good for us, in his once. This is kind of what we can do for you. Mike Nolan, we haven't had anyone in that offense like you. So you're just we're gonna find special ways to use you. And it's players over plays for Liam. When everything's in doubt, he's looking at the playbook and he's like, throw it to Mike. So it's always going to come down to that for Cohen. If he's not going to overthink things at the bottom line, end of the line where he needs a play, it's third down. Who's better to go to on third down? Godwin. Why am I going to try to come up with this crazy design of a play when just get Godwin, go to the Buick, Baker, deliver a ball, which Baker's ball placement has been chef's kiss so far.
Yeah.
Been really on point.
And one next question, I heard somebody, I can't remember where I heard it, they alluded to Chris Godwin being the 2019 Chris Godwin or playing at that level.
Mike Evans said that. Holds a little weight. Yeah. So, he's looked really good. He's looked really good, crisp, smooth. And he talked about that with us in the press. It takes a couple of years to get back from an ACL.
Oh, yeah.
We knew that 100%. Last year, you're like, man, he's still good, but he's put up 1,000 yards, but he doesn't separate like he used to. We're seeing Godwin separate a little bit more like pre-ACL tear.
Yeah, and you saw that at the back end of the season where you started really seeing the vast improvements as opposed to the beginning of the season where he's getting comfortable. Because I know there's the mental and the physical recovering from an injury like that. And now
they put him back in the slot too, which helped too,
Yeah. And thank God for his wife who spoke up and, it really kind of shook things up. So I'm happy with where everything is right now.
And so he it's easier to separate from the slot than it is for the most part than it is outside. Because that's where you're facing those speedier cornerbacks. The bigger cornerbacks sometimes can press on you. And he's just got a feel for finding that empty spot in the zone. And we saw that, and we're going to see that this year.
Yeah. JC, just to kind of piggyback off that before we get J-Lo tapping in here, to piggyback off what Gene said, guys like Servace Dennis, not really slighting Canales, but kind of saying, hey, defensively a little easier to telegraph, great guy, nothing against him, but so far Liam Cohen, it's been, kind of a harder ship to man defensively in his mind. A couple others have said that as well. Just thoughts on how well this team has gravitated into this coaching staff. I mean, we've seen some coaching staffs in years past, Lovie Smith, Greg Schiano, although Anthony Gators said otherwise, but Lovie Smith, Greg Schiano, a couple other coaching regimes where the players were kind of flat-footed to gravitate around the coaching staff. Here it seems like Todd Bowles, whether it was Byron Leftwich, although he got scapegoated, deservingly so, whether it was Dave Canales or now Liam Cohen, and then defensively, Larry Foote, Casey Rogers, even special teams-wise, now you bring in a veteran like McGoffey from the Giants. Seems like these are all players, coaches, which is great to see.
Yeah, that I think last year was a very slow build for Dave. And in OTAs, it started with Cohen, just loaded them up. You heard like Bucky here, my head was spinning. Sterling Shepard, my head was spinning. These guys, like, my head was spinning. There was so much. And then you hear Baker at the end of mandatory minicamp, and Rashad said, it's a lot. Like, he's putting a lot on us. That was the plan there, was to see how much these guys would retain, see how much they could carry over and bring it into training camp. And I talked about that. If you go check out the podcast, I talked about kind of front loading the install and the benefits of it. And that has definitely helped, I think, this team get this system down and be able to do things a little bit faster than what they were doing last year with the first-time play caller, who was really kind of finding his. I mean, Canales was great. Canales is my guy. Rooting for his success, not against the Bucs, obviously, in Carolina, but especially against the Saints and Falcons, kick their butts, right? But I think, it's a little different because Cohen's been there, done that. He's been the offensive coordinator for 2 years in the Rams. He's been the guy at Kentucky for a few years. So, and the chemistry is on this team is just out of this world. Like I talked to Bowles and I talked to some of these, I feel like it's at the highest it's ever been, even with the Super Bowl year. These guys, there's competition, like we said, on the roster, but it's not. I'm gonna withhold this information so I win this spot. It's what did you see? Oh, I saw this. Well, what did you see? Oh, okay, I saw this. Okay, we both get this together. Like these guys are helping each other. They're feeding off each other. It's a cohesive unit. The goal is to win a championship. It's not, obviously they all want to start, but it's not one of these like, I forget who's the quarterback that said, they weren't like helping somebody the other day.
I know who you're talking about completely.
Tannehill, or was it with Will Levis? Something like that.
Yeah, it was Tannehill with Will Levis. That's correct.
Yeah, it's nothing like that. Like these guys are helping each other be the best they can be, learn the system, and make sure they can help the team any way possible. And a lot of these spots, there's competition, obviously outside of like the line, but there's going to be multiple rotations. Savasier Dennis is going to get his reps. They've got packages for him. Tavavier Thomas, Christian Isian, they've got snaps for them on there as well. These guys are going to get their time on the field. The corners will stay there. Your safeties will, for the most part, stay there. But you'll see rotation that nickel dime spot. You'll see rotation in that linebacker, obviously on the edge and the interior line and stuff like that, and wide receiver and somewhat tight end because Kadon can't take 98% of the snaps again.
No, and we are here with the great J.C. Allen from Sports Illustrated, Bucs Game Day branch of that, and his own Pirate Parlay podcast. The great Gene from Buck What You Heard, and J-Lo. We got David Ferrara, Tampa's Realtor, joining on Facebook. El Monito. J-Lo, I'll let you tap in here. Then we'll get back to J.C. J-Lo, between Baker and Vita Vea, both are proclaimed to be in the best shape of their careers, and it's evident so far. Who are you more excited to see out there with their new, lost weight? Not that Baker nor Vita really needed to lose it in a playing sense, but hey, get him in better shape never hurts, and we might see that this year. J-Lo, who are you more excited to see out there?
I'm excited for Vita Vea. I mean, for what I'm hearing, he looks like he's in great shape. Like the belly's gone, supposedly. He's like the Ndamukong side, which is fantastic. Give me some of that, out there on the defense, taking on those double teams that'll create, more havoc for Kalijah Kancey. And I'm excited for Baker either way, too. I mean, Baker is I think he's going to thrive in Cohen's offense for sure. But Vita Vea, I'm really excited for. I'm excited to see him hopefully stay on the field more and not get pulled as much, because when he got pulled out of the game here and there, we struggled a lot, getting off the field. So give me Vita Vea, looking nice and slim like Ndamukong.
Gene, what say you on that one? Vita or Baker, which shape or which person's betterment of their shape excites you more?
I think Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield has just there have always been knocks on him. I think he's just a victim of bad timing. I mean, whether it was in Cleveland with the injury he had there that, they went ahead and packed him off, and he ended up with Carolina. And then what happened with Carolina in that horrible coaching situation? Then he was moved on over to the Rams. But throughout all that, the one thing that I will say about him, just watching him, you always kind of rooted for him because, he was out there, he's trying. And for him to come into the Rams and do what he did was it just showed you what kind of player he is. And then for him to come in behind Tom Brady into Tampa, do what he's done, and then, just continuing to get better at his craft and, really going out there. And the one knock on him or I shouldn't say knock, the one thing that we don't really pay attention to, Baker can read defenses. And we haven't had a whole lot of quarterbacks in Bucs history that can actually read defenses. And that's the one thing I'm looking forward to Baker being comfortable in this offense embracing this offense and coming out and showing what he can do. And I really expect, big things from him, stay healthy. And, I think he can get the Bucs into the playoffs and contention for a Super Bowl if everything falls the right way.
And we do have some breaking news on the Rays. While they traded Sean Armstrong, reliever, for Dylan Carlson, outfielder from the Cardinals, but that's just for you Rays fans out there. JC, back at the topic at hand, we got Gene making great points for Baker. We got J-Lo making good points for Vita. You'll be the tiebreaker here. Vita Vea, Baker Mayfield, whose improvement body-wise off the field this offseason has you more excited for their on-the-field play upcoming?
I think it's Vita. I think, Baker was in pretty good shape last year. Obviously, him being in good shape this year is a plus for everyone on the team. But I think Vita Vea, you see the nagging injuries that he's had over the few years, the close but no cigars he's had over the few years, 6.5, 5.5 sacks. I think he's got a chance to reach his goal at 10 sacks this season with the disruptiveness he can bring. Still big enough to be stout against the run, of course, but a little bit more explosion. I mean, we've seen him chasing, running backs 15 yards down the field and making tackles. So getting him slimmed down, protecting his body against the grind and the weight that he had on before, I think is tremendous for him, tremendous for the Bucs for keeping him healthy throughout a full, 17, potentially soon 18 game slate. Well, I think Baker losing weight is good for his mobility, obviously. If he's doing any of the pliability stuff, good for his, arm strength and being able to kind of bounce back and recover quicker and everything like that. But I think when you look at who's more impactful, I think it's going to be Vita Vea's.
Yeah, and I could see that. I could see both. Like you said, Baker wasn't in bad shape last year by any means, but
4,000 passing yards.
But getting a little more fleet foot at the QB position never hurts. But I'm very excited because I think this should help Vita stay on the field in particular, which is something he has had a little bit of problems with. Nothing crazy problem-wise, but a little bit in years past. We do have football this week. This is the first weekend of football between college and NFL. We don't go another weekend without football until after the Super Bowl. Music to my ears. I know all we get is a Hall of Fame game this weekend, JC, but kind of since it's a hot topic right now, thoughts on the Hall of Fame game or preseason as a whole, perhaps? Is this the year? Is this the last year that we see 3/4 preseason games on these teams' schedule? Because yes, Bears and Texans, they do have 4 games each with the Hall of Fame game.
The Hall of Fame game, it's good to have on it in the background. It's not a must-watch game because it's second-string guys. It's nice to have, and to kind of watch and listen to while you're doing something else. For me, it's usually writing an article or, perusing for content to write about or something like that. Or, but it's nice that football's back. That's for damn sure. As far as could it be the last Hall of Fame, last time we see 4 preseason games or 3 preseason games? I don't know. I don't know if it's done next year. But within 2 years, I think so. I think we might have one more year of 3 preseason games. And then we're that's it. I kind of like the 3 preseason games more than the 4 because I think that gives some of these younger guys a chance to showcase what they can do. I think with only 2, you're looking at probably, a preseason game where they get 1 and then you get your starters out there for a drive or so to kind of get them warmed up a little bit. And then boom, you're into the regular season. So I don't mind preseason. I'm a little bit different though. I know like casuals just want to see the guys and just want fantasy to start, but I've kind of invest my time in these guys by either like drafting them, scouting them, writing breakdowns on them and seeing how they fit in the roster and invest in their kind of development to see what they can do. And those preseason games give me a little bit of time to, okay, I was right about that guy. Or okay, maybe I was wrong about that guy. Or okay, this guy came out of nowhere, Christian Izzian. So it's like some of those things that, kind of I'll miss with just going to 2. But I think 2 years and we're down at 2.
Yeah, I think 3 is the perfect number personally, but I could see why they want to trim it for money purposes. NFL talks dollar signs. At the end of the day, as we could see you need 100 different cable networks or streaming platforms to watch every football game these days. Before we pivot and get to our final words, Gene, thoughts on preseason as the Bucs? For those wondering, are doing some interviews right now. It does look like Graham Barton is at the podium. River Wells of Bucs Game Day, JC's co-partner, doing a great job bringing us what Graham Barton has to say as we speak.
Oh, yeah.
Over on Twitter at River H Wells for those interested. Graham Barton's at the podium. But Gene, thoughts on preseason?
I love it. It gives you a chance to look at some players, and you got to take it with a grain of salt. These are going to be vanilla plays. There's no real scheming involved. It's, hey, can you go out and execute this play? And that's what we're going to be looking at. But it's going to be good to see your Buccaneers or whoever your team is going up against somebody else and hitting somebody else rather than the mundane process of, installing these plays and getting ready for preseason. So I'm really looking forward to it. And it gives you an opportunity to see some of these other players and just kind of see how they do and, just kind of form your opinion on teams that we're going to be facing in a division twice in the year. So definitely looking forward to it.
Tyke Smith was at the podium earlier. I see him getting quoted saying that he's adjusted to the Florida heat now, which is nice. Can't be easy for these rookies. We also had Jordan Whitehead at the podium saying him and Winfield are picking up right where they left off. J-Lo, which of those two comments intrigues you more? Seems like we're pretty good on the preseason, but Tyke Smith already being adjusted to the Florida temps, or Jordan Whitehead saying, hey, Winfield and I, this is easy business? And then we're going to get JC's thoughts on Gregory and then give our final words.
I mean, Jordan Whitehead being back was just such a huge boost to the safety room. I think him and Winfield are definitely going to be not beating up on deep pass plays. And plus, Whitehead's a good tackler, man. He's good at shutting down the run, which I think we're going to need. I think he's a much bigger upgrade compared to the last couple seasons. I'm not going to go into names because we already know who they were. Didn't pan out. So Jordan Whitehead just excites me. I just love the fact that he's back and he knows the system. And, he's going to be a good team partner with Antoine Winfield Jr.
Yeah, and JC, thoughts on Randy Gregory? I think he's pretty much as good as gone, but I think the Bucs are kind of letting him inflict damage upon himself for contract purposes. Right. Probably try and save pennies on the dollar at that point. JC, what say you?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much what's going on now. Is the longer he's on that reserve list, the more they can try to recoup from any signing bonus or anything like that. He's up to, I think he'll be up to $450,000 in fines, including minicamp by today. Maybe it's 500,000. So he's pretty much almost at what he's suing the Broncos for. No word from him. I actually talked to Levante the other day, who has a somewhat sort of a relationship from him, and he hasn't talked to him or heard from him at all since before minicamp. So, yeah, Gregory's good as gone. They like what they have. I have high hopes for that pass rush anyways, that's all six of them making the team over him anyways, with Jose Ramirez and Marquise Watts rounded out with that Anthony Nelson and obviously the top three guys that we've talked about earlier prior to. But final word, I want to give you a few stories about this team and the players they have on there and what the Bucs do. So they're personal stories. So the first one is Rachaad White had his rookie minicamp recently the other day. And me and my son joined. You guys might have seen, I posted something, Junior Reporter. Just the time and the patience he had with my son. He's 8 years old. He was a little nervous. He tried to get him in the scrum. He was like a little nervous, so then he did his own personal interview, and just the patience and the time he spent with him. He's played Fortnite with my son. He's been a great just kind of person, and as well as a player. And then Brandon Walton's another one of these guys. I actually, my son's playing fall ball. He's starting center for the Lutz Chiefs. Go Chiefs! All the time I'll steal him. We say that. But I asked Brandon Walton to come out and see if he could, do some warm-ups and stuff like that, some drills and stuff like that. And actually, Rashad's trainer, Donnie Bills, he came out, and they both did in about an hour and a half. Started raining out. We're out there in the rain almost 2 hours. Thunderstorms started coming in. That's the only reason why we called it early. But out there with the kids and, trying to get them right before the season, teaching them a lot of stuff. And like, that's just the kind of the thing. These guys don't have to do anything. We've heard the stories about Mike Evans and what he does, and obviously staying late after practice. Last year while I was on the Bucs cruise, my son had a game. Yaya Diaby called him up, and he won the game, and he had a sack in the game, and Yaya called him up as a plays defensive tackle, and told him have great game, awesome, but kind of gave him some words of encouragement. Rashad did the same, and then before their final game, Yaya gave the team a pumped up speech and stuff like that. So just kind of the people these guys are and what the Bucs are bringing in. And one of the kids that was there was just at the autograph session tonight for the Bucs, and Brandon Walton recognized him and gave him his new era bucket hat off his head, signed it for him, and said, "I remember you." And it just made the whole, after meeting Mike Evans earlier the night, just kind of made the whole kids experience and the whole kids night. So that's who these Bucs are. You can send the horn is going off for them to get their butts inside. It's time for lift. It's time for lunch. It's time for for meetings. And you see them having to go out there and drag these guys off the field because they want to sign for everybody. That's my final word. Is I think Jason Light, as Bud Cannabis mentioned, and just the camaraderie and the team and Bowles and the character and culture they've established here is just makes you want to root for these guys. I will root for these guys personally for their success, as a team for success. I'm going to keep it 100 with them, keep it a buck. I got called out by one of the players yesterday, texted me. I said something about him being in pads or whatnot. I'll keep it, so I go too into detail. Y'all figure it out. But he was like, "Yeah, what are you saying? You're crazy." I was like, "Hey, I'm just trying to keep it a buck." He's like, "I know you got a job to do." So, it's just the type of players these guys are, the type of people they are.
You actually stole the words out of my mouth, JC. My final word, and I have it squared up right here. I was going to say kudos to you and the Bucs, but you helped formulate a lot of it for the youth movement, being involved in football. That's so key for a sport that kind of faces a critical crossroads here. A lot of rule changes, a lot of people trying to change the game entirely. So, the youth might lose interest in that. But here, if I was ever at a practice when I was younger, and I had a offensive lineman there like Brandon Walton, I had a pro running back trainer there, even a reporter like yourself, JCL, and that's elite company for the youth and for a great cause for these kids. And then that Yaya Diaby story, Rashad White story, incredible. Brandon Walton, giving the kid his bucket hat, signing it. Things like that make this team special, and you help out as well with that. So I just want to thank you as my final word for your youth involvement, or keeping the youth involved in the game of football in such a hard time to do such a thing, in my opinion, at least. So kudos to you, JC, and we will get your final word on the schedule again. Gene, you want to give us your final word? I know you plan on kicking the tires tomorrow with KB potentially.
Yeah, we'll probably be doing it next week. For me, I'm just
I won't
glad
be able to
football's
make
back.
it.
We'll call you. We're definitely going to call you. Trust me. I've got your number. No, all joking aside, thank you. This has been a lot of fun. I enjoy getting this information. This is where you get excited about your team. And I just have a different feeling about this year as opposed to years in the past where you didn't know what to expect from your team, but you have a team that went to the playoffs. They did well in the playoffs compared to what everybody else outside of Tampa thought they would do. So I'm just excited for that. And you're familiar with your quarterback. You're familiar with the defense, the head coach. Everybody just put it all together. And the one thing that we haven't really talked a lot about, which I think JCU alluded to, was culture. We see a huge culture change. And, I mean, prior to 2020, the culture was like hit and miss. It was atrocious at most times, but for the most part, after 2020, a lot of things changed. But where we are right now, I never would have ever imagined that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, from top to bottom, from the front office to the towel person, would have built a culture like what we're seeing right now, where everybody is working together for a common goal, and there are no divas, and no drama right now. So I'm really looking forward to this season. And fans, this is a great time to be a Bucs fan.
J-Lo, final word from you. And Gene, you're 100% right. When we had CJ Brewer on the show as well, thank you, JC, for that one as well. But he alluded to that. He's like, I'm not worried what my final role is here. I'm worried about helping my teammates. We're all getting each other better here. You could sense a great culture vibe there. J-Lo, final word before JC ends it by giving us the rundown for tomorrow.
Yeah, first and foremost, JC, I always appreciate everything you bring to the table when it comes to reporting and giving us all the information we need when it comes to our Buc players. And plus, taking the time for on Twitter Space, giving us fans a chance to ask you a question before the camp. Always enjoy that. And then plus, you being a wrestling fan, that's a bonus. So,
In the millions and millions. And speaking of millions, one of the great Emily says, hi, everyone. Tampa Tones, JC, J-Lo, Bud, Olivia, BB, Flash, Cleve, literally shouting out everyone and then giving Gene the finger. Gene, you're probably going to be a little upset about that. No, I'm just kidding. But JC, final words on where people can find you tomorrow and what you're doing one more time tomorrow.
Yeah, so I actually tomorrow on my podcast, Pirate Parlay, 7:00 live, be on YouTube and Twitter. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Go to YouTube, like, subscribe, turn on reminders. Sometimes we're in training camp, so we'll do these random days, random times. When these guys' off days are coming up, you never know when we'll pop up. I've got a new sponsor, so I was looking over the notes. I put in my notepad.
Oh, baby.
And I pulled up something from 2020. It was Brad Seaton opting out of the COVID year. I was like, wow, this is something I wrote so far ago. So I thought that was funny to share.
Yeah.
But, tomorrow, 7:00, 8:00, right after that. Here are the Cannons, Cody Moak on at JC on NFL. We got tons of content coming out. The guys will be at camp tonight. I won't be there. I'll be back at it on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Bring you all the latest content, interviews, player news, videos, you name it, I got it. Check it out. Check it out here every week at Buccateers, Tones, J-Lo, sometimes Gene giving you the best stuff. Great guest, great commentary. And yeah, appreciate all of y'all as always.
We appreciate you. And Gene, don't get crucified by Emily now. But JC, thanks again. And I hope everybody enjoyed talking. It's kind of cool. Warming up for a night practice. But JC and Gene and J-Lo, all wrestling fans, enjoy SummerSlam. My brother's actually Cleveland bound. I would have been as well, but a couple things happened. But for the millions and millions, enjoy SummerSlam, you all. I hope everyone has a great SummerSlam.
I know we're 10 minutes late, but I'm going to blame Olivia and her Jordan Love question. That added the extra 10 because I know you had a hard stop for dinner plan, so it's Olivia's fault this time.
Yeah,
it's not my fault for talking too much. It's her fault.
I blame her. I'm looking at her in the basement right now, so I blame her too.
Love you, Liv.
Yeah, she feels the love. But thanks, everybody. You guys are all great. JC, we love you. Gene and J-Lo, love you guys as well. It's been a great Buccateers. You guys have a great Tuesday, everybody. For the millions and millions and millions.
Yeet.
Game on Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buc fans were there too. The Bucs.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by Lead Goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little cleared. But we're joined by Pat
It looks like
Donovan.
Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like we got a little...
No, my